general pattern emerge between these two drivers. Rob Huff seems to be a little quicker on corner entry, but James Cottingham, neater, tidier, gets it all sorted out sooner on the apex. He's a little bit quicker out, which is why we're seeing the gap between them extend as they go down the straights.
Now this was the part of the circuit a lap ago where he was very committed in his so again at St Mary's there, trying to get his nose up the inside, couldn't do it. Slides towards Lavant, then over the rise, over the brow again. Rob Huff's E-Type barely in a straight line, more glowing brakes on the Cottingham car. More noticeable than on Rob Huff's second place. Number 12 E-Type then as they accelerate out of Lavant corner, onto Lavant straight, down to Woodcote. Less than a minute to go, so fingers crossed it will not need a flag this time. We can squeeze one more lap out of it, which will be bad news possibly for James Cottingham, maybe good news for Rob Huff. And again, on that section of circuit, the gap does widen a touch between the two of them. But what about under braking? Here comes Huff and the gap comes down and down and down and down and down, and he's right on the tail of Cottingham. Is there a chance to challenge as they come into the chicane? James just about gets the car on the right line. Defence from Huff, who's always quick through here. So 20 seconds on the clock now. Up towards the line they come. It is James Cottingham just hanging on to the advantage as they power their way across the line. And the gap as they start the last lap is 0.2 of a second. And here comes Huff sideways under braking. Tries the outside line, still can't do it.
No, he had to brake harder than he had anticipated, which is why the tail snapped wide. James Cottingham, I think, now finally having to nurse his brakes, braking a little earlier, a little softer, a longer braking zone for Cottingham. Now, if he can pull just enough of a gap through this backside of the circuit, he might be able to defend down into Woodcote at the end of the straight, but Huffy tries to go around the outside on the marbles. Cottingham sees it coming, lets the car drift wide to close the door into the left-hander of St Mary's.
And let's see whether or not they're going to encounter any traffic on this lap as well. If Huff, if they are, there are back markers ahead. Now don't forget, Huff tends to lose out in a straight line here, but he's so good on the brakes. If he's able to stay right on the back of Cottingham now, he builds up for a chance then. So the flag will be out this time. It is the last lap of the Sterling Moss Memorial Trophy. It is James Cottingham versus Rob Huff. Cottingham looking in his mirrors, he does get away in a straight line, but there are back markers up the road. Is that going to help or hinder? Let's see as they come down to Woodcote. The light is fading, the gap is diminishing between the top two as well. Cottingham tries to get up the inside of Woodcote. Is the back marker going to see him coming? Yes, Rob Huff tries to commit. Which way does he go? Rob dives up the inside. Cottingham has got through. Huff gets through as well. It's going to be a drag to the line, but James Cottingham has just done enough, has he? Yes, he has. It is going to be a Sterling Moss Memorial Trophy win for James Cottingham and Harvey Stanley ahead of Rob Huff and Richard Mines. What a battle.
In the slipstream, Kenny duck up the inside into Woodcote. Craig Davies still got a lot of horsepower down the straight despite the blue smoke pouring out the back of his car. Again, same manoeuvre, just shuts the door ever so gently, does it nice and early, letting Tetley know long in advance of the braking zone that the inside line is closed. If you want to come by, you have to go the long way around. But Tetley's got the nose up the inside, gets a little bit crossed up under the brakes into the chicane, gathering it up.
One more lap to go then. There's just time on the clock for one more lap as over the line comes Craig Davies, having to make that car really wide. That was a really committed effort by Jack Tetley, wasn't it, coming into the chicane? And Mike Whittaker is there in third place. So one more lap to run. Through Madgewick they go. Jack Tetley just drifts a little bit wide. All the pressure on Craig Davies. He'll be nervous and looking at the dials now. He may be oblivious to the smoke, you never know, but he certainly won't be oblivious to Jack Tetley right there behind him. Mike Whittaker in third place. Tetley has, on that previous lap, done an absolute best middle sector, so the pace of the car is good and he's closing right up now. It's all going to be decided, I suspect, on the run down towards Woodcote, so the move will start round about here through St Mary's.
Yeah, Craig Davies again just making his car very wide, and the other thing of course is these are both large cars, so you need a significant gap to open up. Craig Davies doing a very good job of not offering that to Tetley behind. Tetley meanwhile taking the right decision into Lavant, using the normal racing line so they can get a nice clean apex early on the throttle. Now he can take advantage of that because he's got a good exit, good pace, good momentum, but Davies has a few more horsepower.
So Craig Davies defends for at least the Lavant straight. Can he get Woodcote in the chicane? Absolutely nailed as well. Down they come then, the final lap of the Jerry Marshall sprint. Nose to tail, Tetley has a look to the inside line. Craig Davies just covers him off. It's now or never for Jack Tetley on the run towards the chicane. Davies covers the inside line. Jack Tetley will have one more chance on the run to the flag. If he can surge up alongside, he's going to try to do it. Here they come, checkered flag at the ready. It's going to be almost side by side between the two of them, but Craig Davies hangs on to win a great battle in the Jerry Marshall sprint. Craig Davies wins by 0.217 of a second. So they know them inside out. Nigel Rubin prepares the TVR that Mike Whittaker owns. Mike Jordan behind the wheel of it. Brake starting to look hot.
Yeah, the brake disc glowing bright red on Jordan's TVR.
So he needs a bit of clean air. Does he drop back and cool them, or does that spur him on to get past this Cobra even more? Not exactly suggesting that Mike is not trying, but Ollie Bryant's got the answer at the moment.
This is the problem in a long 1 hour race. You know, the brakes are pretty rudimentary on these cars, and they do, obviously they're stopping a very heavy vehicle from huge top speeds, and they do fade quite early. There's some pretty clever material out there, pretty clever brake pads, and the guys will maximize the cooling, the ducting that the rules allow them to. In the meantime, the drivers got to make the best job of it that they can.
Again, nose to tail look as you look down for that lovely high shot as they round Madrick corner. Nose to tail coming onto the back part of the circuit towards Ford Water. Jordan.
Sorry, I was just going to say Lotterer, meanwhile, effortlessly just banging in 124 after 124 out front, and he is gone.
Jordan to the inside, is this the move? Yes, 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 he's done it at last. Through he goes. Mike Jordan goes through into second place.
Ollie Bryant having a go at getting that position back, nearly went around the outside of the left-hander at St Mary's, and he gets the switch back now. He's on the better line. He'll be able to brake. Watch for the cutback. Can he carry more speed out of Lavant? Jordan had to go defensive on the way in. That will force his car wide on the way out. As you can see from this rear-facing camera from Jordan's car, that gave Bryant a little look up the inside on the way out. But Jordan got the power down. Now down the straight, he's got a good car length or so as they get into the braking zone.
So through the traffic, ignore for the moment the Shepherd Padmore Cobra because that still does not seem to have made a pit stop. So as the cars come into the chicane, either that has got a glitch with its transponder or genuinely they mucked up on the window, but you can't see how it's in the lead if it hasn't stopped. Over the timing line then goes Mike Jordan, and now look, he is getting away. He's finally done it, and he's away. If Hughie Walker were to look over his shoulder now, he would find quite a bit of clear track space. So last lap, and it's a second and a half, but Hughie Walker's lead suddenly is gobbled away by the end of the straight before Madrick corner. It's probably halved to that section alone.
And he looks very comfortable in this part of the circuit, doesn't he? So, can he gather enough of a cushion through the next 2 or 3 turns and hold on to it as we just see yet more pumping?
And we didn't see that in race 1, did we? So it does suggest that here Mark Walker is having to cope with a problem. Having got some fuel back into the system, he can power on once more, heading now towards the right-handed elements, approaching St Mary's. Up into second place has got Julian Majube once more, and not only that, but he now has closed onto the tail of Hughie Walker. So this race is still wide open with really only 4 corners to go.
Well, it's all to play for, isn't it? On the long run down Lavant Straight into Woodcote.
And you've got traffic ahead, quite right, but it is all to play for. So Hughie Walker with the yellow and red helmet leads the way. There is Julian Majube in second position. And other great battles are still raging on lower down the order. So there the Alfa Romeo of Tony Best goes through, just keeping at bay the Fiat S61, the 125 horsepower car of William Evans. But the race leaders will be heading down towards Woodcote. There they are through the traffic, and it's going to be Mark Walker that goes back into the race lead. Now, can he hang on in there? They're coming down towards Woodcote. So, Mark Walker on the inside, Hughie Walker on the outside, and he's going to get the lead back.
I was going to say, look out for Hughie Walker. He seems to have the most confidence in his car under braking and in the turns. I think Hughie Walker's probably got this one made if he can just hang on to the back end of the car over the last through the last few corners and over the line. Julian Majube just taking an ever so slightly defensive line into the chicane. Will that keep second place in the bag for him? Has he got the grunt? No, he doesn't.
It's a race win, though, for Hughie Walker in another very entertaining SFH trophy.
Absolutely, and yeah, Shedden has really come alive now. He's really starting to get to grips with it. He's gone a few handful of tenths quicker than the 32.4, which is pretty impressive. So yeah, he's really getting a bit between his teeth now.
And so is Stig Blomqvist. He's back up the inside of Sam Tordoff, goes for the race lead. Sam puts 2 wheels on the grass, and Stig Blomqvist retakes the lead. Lap 6 in this 20-minute race. And not only have we had a change for the lead, but Nicolas Menassian has suddenly got back at the party, bringing Andrew Jordan with him. Now, Tordoff, having lost the lead, has lost a little bit of time. Does he have a problem, I wonder? And certainly, look, they're all concertinaing for the lead.
Yeah, it's looking interesting. I think, Sam, maybe we're looking this now that you can see the brakes are starting to wear out. We've got to remember we're all on the same compound rubber. So it could be a Mini or it could be this 1.5 tons of American muscle, but we all have the same rubber with the same compound.
Back on board with Andrew Jordan. He ideally needs the Yank tanks to trip over one another up front, doesn't he, really, to bring him back into the mix. He's still busy defending from Colin Turkington, and then Mark Blundell as they drop once more into Woodcote. But now it's definitely 3 for the lead, and it's Real Americana up front, isn't it? Blomqvist and Tordoff in the Galaxies. Then the Studebaker in 3rd place of Nicolas Menassian. Out of the chicane they come, and of course there where they have to break early, so Jordan and the Cortina pack close up as well. Almost at the halfway point, Stig Blomqvist. He's done the fastest lap of the race, and he's back into the race lead. Now, can he hang on to it? That's the next question.
Yeah, well, he looks like, I mean, he could be eking that out, you know, but there's still, we're only talking about 2/10 on that last lap. So Sam's got it all back under control again.
And he gets out of the way of the 2 leaders. You see how James Cottingham has to fight the car into Magic Corner. He is really hustling that now, braking as late as he possibly can. Lots of opposite lock applied as he hustles on. 1.1 was the gap at the start of this 10th lap of the race. So James Cottingham now really does feel, with 6.5 minutes on the clock still, that he's got a realistic chance of being able to score a race win here. There's the time left in the race for him to do it. And he comes now into St Mary's, drifts the car beautifully, sets it up for the left-handed section of the course now. That's Marino Franchitti coming out of St Mary's over the brow into Lavant Corner. Blue tape across the front of the car just to try and keep some of the temperature in the engine, making it work at the best possible operating temperature. And there is, in 2nd spot, the hard-charging James Cottingham, who on this lap has done an absolute best of anybody in the 1st sector. Marino Franchitti had upped his pace, but James Cottingham goes even faster, so the gap between them has been coming down. Is Marino going to be able to respond and edge away once more? Let's see. He goes past James's father, David Cottingham, in the Ferrari. James gets past as well. Into Woodcote they come. This will be the end of lap number 10. 5.5 minutes to go. So can Marino Franchitti fend off the charging Cottingham behind? Out of the chicane they come. Now up towards the timing line. And that gap may just have stretched a little. Let's see. Yes, it has. It's gone back up again. 1.6, new fastest lap of the race to Marino Franchitti. On the graphic, the purple against his position number shows that he's done the best lap of anybody in the race, and so the message is getting through. You're being caught, Marino. Push, push, push. That is exactly now what he's doing. And you can see even more energy being put in behind the wheel, but James Cottingham does not lack the commitment either. There he is, through Ford Water into St Mary's. So the Maserati versus the Tagiro Jaguar. A 1959 car is the Tagiro Jaguar. Same era, same vintage, same year as the Maserati that it's chasing. And there is James Cottingham, flicks into the right-hander.
Which he does, but loses momentum on Jordan. The power of the Galaxy will help him close that gap down, but for now, Jordan is safe into Woodcote. We've got 13 seconds remaining. They might just squeeze their way over the start-finish line to give us one more lap.
Clock ticks on down. The leader has gone by, so we're on to the last lap. Wilmot leading by 2.5 seconds. Mike Jordan hangs on to 3rd. Sam Tordoff is almost there behind him then. He's been up ahead of Mike Jordan once in this race. He's got to find half a second and then get past the Cortina. Well, the half a second is gobbled up at the end of the pit straight as they go into Manchwick Corner. The 2 of them almost together with now less than a lap to go.
Absolutely fantastic stuff. Now, Tordoff needs to keep it neat and tidy, because if he can maintain, at the very least, this gap, and he goes down the outside, using all of the power of the Galaxy. He has to lift, because the outside line at Ford Water in the Galaxy is not going to be a particularly comfortable place for Tordoff to position his car. Jordan, meanwhile, takes the defensive inside line into St Mary's, gathers it all up for the switchback.
But if Sam Tordoff can stay on the tail of the Cortina through this section, and he's sideways again at St Mary's, look, he shouldn't he be able to use the power in a straight line? Oliver Taylor's Cortina is closing. This is the last lap. Is Tordoff close enough, coming out of Lavant, to use all of that power to now get up alongside the Cortina? He's still 2 or 3 lengths back, so let's see. He's closing, he's closing, he's closing, he's up alongside, he's on the grass as well to get past. Fantastic, Sam Tordoff does it. I am coming through, he says to Mike Jordan. There is no arguing with that. Sam Tordoff, grass and all, goes 3rd on the last lap at the St Mary's Trophy.